Why should I care about the 2020 census?
Every 10 years, the census counts everyone living in the U.S.
Count everyone living with you.
Even kids!
Our numbers help shape funding and services.
For all these things.
That's a lot of stuff.
Your responses are safe and secure.
No matter who you are or where you're from.
We have reasons to care.
Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
The Community Academy was developed to give the citizens of Durham an insight of what the Durham County Sheriff's Office does on a daily basis. A lot of people seem to think the only thing that the Sheriff's Office is responsible for is the jail and courts and civil process. They're not aware of all the other things that we do.
Over the next few weeks, we have a chance to spend some time together and interact with you. Please ask questions. When various individuals come in, don't hesitate to ask questions. You're going to meet several people on the staff, various divisions, just so we can expose you to as much as possible of what we do.
Well, we've been learning different jobs within the Sheriff Department, from the detention office to the different job with the 911. I really like that, and the deputies do it, SROs. Very interesting with what the SWAT team do. That's very interesting.
They learn the different departments and divisions that we have within this agency. They learn that we are in schools. They learn that we have a narcotics unit. They learn that we have not only civil process, but in the courts unit. We also learn that we also go out and do community events and activities within Durham itself. The schedule is Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The participants will come in class. If we have classroom portion, there are some classes that will be held outside, and there's another class that will be held another place. But anybody can participate. What they have to do is fill out an application and go through our application process. Once they go through our application process and are vetted, then they are welcome to attend the academy.
I think it's a big asset to the community, learning what the Sheriff Department do. A lot of people don't realize, they think that the police department do a lot, but the sheriff actually does just as much as the police department. And a lot of people think they only do like the outside of the county. They do a lot for the city as well.
It's a great thing to go through to find out exactly what our deputies do on a daily basis. Also, it's a great thing to learn all the things that the Sheriff's Office offers Durham County.
When an emergency strikes in Durham County, will you know what to do? Receive critical, time-sensitive information straight to your device with Alert Durham.
Alert Durham provides you with critical information quickly for incidents like severe weather, hazardous materials, evacuations, and more. You can even choose the type of alerts you want to receive and how you want to receive them. Just go to alertdurham.com to register quickly and easily. Stay alert, stay informed, stay safe with Alert Durham.
I am a teacher. I am based primarily at the detention center. We started this program in 2015, so now this is year 5 for us. We're under the auspices of the hospital school, and so the goal of the tours is to basically bring a field trip to those students who can't go to school.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Okay. So we're here with you today from the Museum of Natural Sciences in Raleigh.
It's one thing to read it in a book. It's another thing to watch a video, but to be able to ask those specific questions of someone who can share that information with you, but a little more than that, is very important. And just the whole social aspect. You know, when you're homebound or hospital bound or even in the detention center, you don't get a lot of connection with other educators. So to be able to have that interaction is very critical and just makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger than where you currently are. The educational aspect is, I find it critical. Just because while the student may not be in a science class, they've had science before, and it makes some of what they've learned about in the past come to life.
And Even though sometimes I took school for granted, I'm glad that now that, well, I'm in a place where I need it and it can help me. So I really appreciate it. And I'm trying to finish because it's something that I need, even though when I was out there in the world, it wasn't something that I felt like I needed.
Seems like you have a big interest in science and nature.
Yeah, I like learning about like the different species of animals.
I think it's time.
All right, thank you, Martha. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I
All
hope
right.
you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, take care.
All right, see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think it went well. I appreciated the interactive aspect of it, where our student was able to talk back and forth to the other presenters at the museum.
So is this something that you would definitely want to do again and explore other areas?
Yeah, I would like to. I would enjoy it.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first, because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's us, Melon, Coda, and we're here with your hot weather tips for you and your pet.
It is now officially summer here in North Carolina. So, Melinda, what are some things that you're seeing?
Well, it's definitely official. There's no snow in the forecast. And what we are seeing is, of course, with COVID quarantine, we're seeing a lot of folks out walking their pets, and that is fantastic. What we want you to keep in mind is that as the temperatures rise, the temperature of the pavement also rises. So when you're walking your pet, please keep in mind that the pavement could be hot to your pet's feet. One way to check that is to put your hand on the pavement, hold it for 5 seconds, and if it's too hot and you feel like you need to remove your hand, keep that in mind that your pet would have to walk on that. So consider walking in the grass or another area where it won't be so hot for your pet. We're also seeing people take their pets for car rides in the car as they're getting out and about. Dakota, tell them how that can be detrimental.
So the problem with that is that when you turn off your AC, the car can quickly heat up. Just think, if it's hot outside, it's going to get hot in that car really quickly. And if you leave your animal unattended in the car, it could actually cause permanent brain damage to them. So we ask that if you're not able to leave your car running with the AC on for your pet, that you leave them at home. Some signs of heat distress in dogs are panting with heavy saliva, reddish eyes, and lethargy. So if you are out and about and you see any dogs in cars with those signs, give us a call immediately. Also, since we're outside more, Melinda, what are some requirements for the dogs when they're outside?
Well, folks like to have their pets outside in the yard, and that's great, and it is not illegal for your pet to be outside, obviously. However, we want to make sure that you're providing your pet with adequate water adequate shade, a place to get out from under the sun, and make sure, of course, that your dog has adequate shelter in case when you are gone or you're not there, we have a sudden North Carolina snowstorm. It could happen, folks. Trust me.
So that wraps up our heat tips for you this time, and we'll see you around next time.
Stay cool and still stay distant.
Each year, there are more than a dozen significant tropical and winter storms that threaten the East Coast. So chances are there will be more hurricanes and blizzards near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Yeah, so we are providing a disinfectant service for first responders, government partners, and our regular customers as well. They're EPA approved tabs. It's a hospital grade disinfectant. We guide them up to our disinfectant station. They get out of the car after turning their AC on. We fog the car starting with the rear, and then we close the door. We fog the front, close the door of the front, and then we start a 60-second timer. Once that 60 seconds is up, we pull the car onto the conveyor, and then on the front lot we pull the car out, hand dry it, and then we clean the interior as well. After we get done cleaning the car, we disinfect the areas that we touched. So they're called Pure Tabs. They are EPA approved, and it's a hospital grade disinfectant. We put the tabs in the fogger, and they are used. They then dissolve. And then we use that to fog the car on the interior. The only thing that we practice with our procedure is letting it sit for 60 seconds inside the car before we enter. So any customer can come in, and with the purchase of a full service wash, an interior wash, they get a free disinfectant as well. It's been interesting. It's been a challenge, but we are happy to serve and serve our first responders, our government partners, and even our regular customers that want to get their car disinfected. So we're here to serve.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Mandy Cohen, Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. As we begin to venture out again, help protect your family and neighbors from COVID-19 by practicing your 3 W's. Wear a cloth face covering, wait 6 feet apart, wash your hands often, or use hand sanitizer. Wear, wait, wash. We're all in this together. Stay strong, North Carolina.
My name is Curtis Taylor, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Alcohol Drug Council of North Carolina. Our agency operates an information and referral hotline for any North Carolina citizen that is seeking services for substance use disorder. Alliance Health is one of 7 local management entities / managed care organizations in our state. Our partnerships with the LMEs are imperative as we provide services and help for any North Carolina citizen that needs it. Today we are highlighting a unique program and a partnership between Alliance Health and the Durham County Sheriff's Office.
Carlisle Johnson. I'm Director of Provider Network Strategic Initiatives for Alliance Health. Alliance Health has been working to improve access to evidence-based medication-assisted treatment for the last several years. And we saw a wonderful opportunity in Durham to work with the Sheriff's Department, to work with multiple providers and partners in the community to expand access to treatment and connect people who need treatment while they're in the Durham Detention Center.
Good morning. My name is Major E. Bazemore, Durham County Sheriff's Office Detention Services Division. Supervise programs and administration.
Clarence Burkhead, Sheriff of Durham County.
Yes, sir. That's simple. So we've been working with a number of partners, including the Durham Sheriff's Office, Public Health, UNC, Duke, and many others to figure out a way to get people access to treatment while they're in the detention center and then connect them to treatment afterwards.
Today we are highlighting our new innovative medicated supportive treatment service, and as we know it out in the community, it's called MAT.
This treatment project focuses on opioid use disorder, and for most jails in the country, if you go into jail with an opioid use disorder and are receiving treatment, say methadone or buprenorphine or Vivitrol, you do not get that treatment while you're in the jail. And so we started to look at this issue in Durham and figure out a way to make sure that we could not only maintain people on the medication that they're on when they come into the jail setting, but also over time we're moving towards starting people on medication-assisted treatment while they're in the detention center.
Medication-supported treatment, what the program entails is helping individuals with an opioid use disorder that are detained here in our facility, and we provide them medication while they're being detained here in the facility.
When people come into our facility, my main goal is to get them prepared to go back out into the community, back into society. If they have an addiction or they're suffering from a mental illness, we want to do everything that we possibly can to assist them in that recovery process, connecting them with the resources that they need, and also taking care of them while they're here so that when they go back out into the community, they're better prepared and better equipped to transition back into society.
We have a number of partners out in the community, and I think that's what makes this partnership so phenomenal. I want to start out with Alliance. Alliance has been at the table, and they have been at the forefront of helping us. UNC has been out at the forefront and helping us. Duke University has been out in the front and helping us. Durham County and our commissioners have been out in the forefront.
We're happy to be one of the largest agencies in the South that are now employing this effort. By partnering with Alliance, it's been very successful so far. I think we've had 9 or 10 individuals come through it. And I think the stigma comes from people not really understanding what we're trying to do here. Again, these individuals come to us. Some of them are already in a treatment program. They made a mistake, they broke the law, so they get sentenced to short-term jail sentence. So I think it's incumbent upon us to continue their treatment to, again, help them with their addiction so that when they're released, they're better equipped to get back into society and continue their treatment, hopefully to recover from their addiction.
Alliance Health was a participant in Durham County's opioid forum, and actually Durham County, like other counties in the state, was tasked by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners with setting up an opioid forum. And they looked at this more broadly. They said, we understand people aren't just using opioids, and so that's not the only substance use problem we have in our community. So they had a substance use disorder forum to look at what the needs are in our community and how best to address those. And the one that was identified as a top need in one of the work groups was to expand opioid use disorder treatment for those that are in the detention center.
Because we could not do this alone. Alliance, Duke University, and other private partners who are helping us with this MAT program, their support and their resources are absolutely critical to the success of this program. Again, we don't have the resources or the funding to do it alone. They are the experts. And we simply want to be a part of that process and be a conduit to make sure that the individuals can get connected to the services that they provide.
We realized that we can't arrest ourselves out of this situation. There's not that alone, although there are some efforts to address the opioid epidemic by looking at prosecution and other efforts like that. A better approach is to try to look at those that come in and out of our criminal justice system that really would benefit from treatment and for whom treatment would prevent future incarceration, future connection with the criminal justice system. And we find that the research shows that if you can get people access to treatment, they're much less likely to engage in the detention center in the future.
And our program is going to be divided up into 3 phases, and we're in phase 1 now. Phase 1 is individuals that are in the community that get detained for whatever reason, that are in a treatment program. They're in a treatment program in the community, so they're either on Suboxone, buprenorphine, or methadone. We continue that treatment once they arrive here in the detention facility. And the significance, and I'm just ecstatic to be a part of this because it's person-centered. In the world we call person-centered, being able to provide an individual with the medication of their choice to help them in their recovery process.
Everyone is impacted when a family member is suffering from addiction. So we want to give the family an opportunity, certainly to understand what's going on while they're incarcerated, but again, connecting them with the private provider once they get out. So we really are attempting to treat the whole family. And once that individual returns to the community, it makes the community a better place. Everyone understands what's going on, and then we just connect all of the dots and the resources.
Paradigm has changed about what we find to be effective, what we consider to be evidence-based that will actually help people with substance use disorders. Although the science has moved forward, our society really hasn't caught up with the science. And there's still a lot of beliefs about substance use disorders, about what causes them, what maintains them, and also the treatments that are really that haven't kept up with the science. So we realize, we now see opioid use disorder as a chronic illness, as a relapsing, remitting illness that benefits from medication, and that medication helps people function in society, live productive lives, have productive family relationships and other relationships, maintain work relationships. Well, one of the things that happens when we stigmatize MAT is those who are receiving MAT believe that this is not something they should stay on, and so they often try to get off the medication. They might be encouraged by family members or even healthcare professionals to stop taking methadone, stop taking Suboxone, to go off those medications. And we find that when that happens, unless it's a planful approach that's directed by the individual, it often results in relapse. It can have poor outcomes, can raise the risk of a fatal overdose. I think first, and one of the most important goals we have is to save lives. The UNC did a research project last year and found that the risk of fatal overdose for people coming out of a detention setting is 40 times higher in the 2 weeks after discharge, or after release. So we know that those coming out of the Durham Detention Center are at a 40 times higher risk of fatal overdose, unless they're in treatment.
A doctor don't give you medication for hypertension for 2 years and say, oh, you're gonna be well, we gotta take you off. We don't take people off diabetes medicine. We don't, whatever the medication is, we don't take them off. And so we have to look at treatment as the same. Treatment is treatment, regardless of what that treatment may be. And so I think that's the significance of that. And we just overall, our community, we have to do a better job eradicating the stigma. I think about NAMI's 4 approach to helping people: advocacy, education, support, and empowerment. And if we can advocate on behalf of people, if we can support, if we can educate our community why people need these treatment modalities, we're gonna be the better off. And then hopefully this eradicates stigma. We can no longer run our detention facilities the way we did of old. I think we're in a time in our community where we're gonna have to invest in citizens that are detained for whatever reason. I think it's gonna be incumbent upon us to try to help these individuals be in a better place when they are released back in the community, so that they can be an asset, so they can be able to help themselves, their families. A lot of people, you know, just because you get detained don't mean that life stops for you. You still got your mortgage payment for some people. You still got child care that you got to provide for. So the significance of just that piece alone, being able to put a person in a better position.
This is both one of the most challenging projects and I think one of the most rewarding. And it is one where with MAT, you get to see the potential to save lives, to re-engage people in their community, to connect people to a path of recovery. And it really has has the potential to have a meaningful impact on the community for those who need services the most.
I want to say this has been by far the toughest assignment I've ever had in my life. But it's probably going to wind up being the most rewarding one, because we're going to be able to help a lot of individuals with substance use disorder and be able to turn their life around.
I'm very excited about the Durham County Sheriff's Office and our detention center being part of this effort. So I'm looking forward to great things and treating as many people as we possibly can, again, to make a great community for Durham.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
The writ of possession is at the very end. All of this starts with one, in the case of rent not being paid, the rent isn't paid. There's some communications going between the landlord and the tenant about, hey, where's my rent? And then you get this notice to vacate. And then once you don't vacate, the landlord can go and file a summary ejectment proceeding, which is another way of saying filing a court case against you, saying you owe me this money, you have not paid your rent, I want you evicted out of my property. And usually that's going to be in small claims court before a magistrate.
Well, your rent notice is basically a magistrate summons with a complaint and summary ejectment attached to it. That comes from the clerk's office to the sheriff's office, and what that is basically the notification for the hearing for the landlord to start the procedure to get their property back. We'll receive those from the clerk's office. The deputies will take those and they will attempt to make contact with the defendant or defendants that's listed on the magistrate summons. If we can't make contact, we will post, as statute allows, for the court date. And once that is returned, they have been served for their court date. Once we've served it, they'll have to call the court if they don't understand something about it. That would fall more under calling the clerk's office to find out if there's any discrepancy about the court date or if there's any problem that they may have with the court date. They would need to contact the clerk's office because we're actually just serving notice of the court date.
That's the first part where we're involved. Only thing we're doing is serving the paperwork just like any other lawsuit. Then you go before the magistrate, the landlord presents evidence, you can present evidence, or the renter can present evidence, a decision is entered. You have a right to appeal that decision to the district court. If you appeal it, there's some procedures involved with that. And then if you lose that appeal, or if you don't appeal it or contest it, what you're going to have is a judgment being entered against you. And that's when the writ of possession comes involved.
Once the sheriff's office receives the writ of possession for real property, the first thing that's done is a notification will be sent out of the date of the eviction to the defendant or the defendants. Second thing we do is we're going to notify the plaintiff of the date and time that we'll be out there to facilitate the padlock. Once the deputy arrives on scene, the property will be taken from the defendant, turned over to the plaintiff. The defendant will be served the paperwork if they're there, but we're there to take custody of the property from the defendant and turn it back over to the plaintiff as the court has ordered.
Really, the legal process is the entire court case before writ of possession is requested by a landlord and delivered to the sheriff for execution. Writ of possession is basically carrying out the judgment of a court. Just like if you were sued for a motor vehicle accident or some other small claims proceeding, when the judge enters a decision, it becomes a judgment, and then you go collect on the judgment. And then once it is issued by the clerk of court, it's delivered to the sheriff for execution. The reason why the sheriff's office is involved is because when someone is moved out of their property, it's a very tense situation, and the sheriff is involved to make sure that it's a peaceful transfer of property.
As in all civil process, the sheriff's office is just enforcing the court order. The court order is that the plaintiff is to receive their property back. The deputy will go out there, the property will be taken out of the defendant's possession, placed back with the plaintiff as the court has ordered, and we're there to also make sure that that's a peaceful transition during that process.
But the law requires the sheriff to do this, and in fact, if the sheriff doesn't do it, he could be sued. So you should really take some steps right at the beginning of all of this when you first have difficulty with paying your rent. Because when it gets to the sheriff's office, it's too late. So what can you do? In several communities throughout the state of North Carolina, including Durham, there are rent assistance programs. North Carolina, along with the United Way, has developed what's called NC 211. If you pick up the phone and dial 211, you're connected to a resource hotline, and you can tell them what your problems are, whether it's paying rent, paying your mortgage, making utility payments, need of food, and they can connect you with resources in your community. Here in Durham, you have the legal clinic at North Carolina Central. You may also have law clinics over at UNC, Duke, over in Raleigh at Campbell, where you can get some free legal advice. You have Legal Aid of North Carolina, but if you go to their website, they have literature on there on what the eviction process is, what is a summary ejectment, what you should present to court, can you get out of it, can you pay your rent, can you settle this, what to do if you want to get into a settlement. Here at the Sheriff's Office, we know about the process, but we can't give you legal advice. State government is well aware of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on individuals, and so there's some relief efforts being made. And so really what I'm saying is that the solution to a lot of this is before you get to the writ of possession. There are community organizations out there that will help you with rent assistance. The General Assembly, which is our state legislature, is looking at some solutions. Our local officials may be looking at some solutions. Churches may be available. So when you get into that situation of not being able to pay your rent, making utility payments, not being able to put food on your table, oftentimes we panic, we become concerned, and that is the moment where you don't close yourself in. That's when you need to go ahead and ask for the help that may be out there. Because if you act quickly and at the beginning of the process, you won't get into the court system and you wind up staying in your home. Because by the time it gets to the sheriff's office with the writ of possession, there's not much, if anything, that can be done, and our hands are tied.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Durham County Sheriff's Office, where's your emergency? Okay, we'll get deputies on the way. Order! Move!
I'm Durham County Sheriff Clarence Burkhead, and we want you to join our team. Honor, duty, service. If you have what it takes, our recruiting starts now.